nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music, a little fun sharing time where we all learn new music, we all expand our horizons. I'm Petey Rave. Here with me is my gang, my crew, my squad, my quorum. We've got David.
This is Virus from the band Haken, their most recent album release. This is not the album I brought for this week's episode.
Mm-hmm. No. We've got Drew.
Well, never mind. I was trying to get a prop, but not gonna happen. Yeah. If we're all showing records, I got a new vinyl.
No, we're not. I was just doing that at random. There's no consistency here. I'm not a consistent person. I don't do continuity.
Yes. And we've got Brett.
And I have this Memorex 4x CDR or DVD-R. Sorry, I didn't even read it properly. It's a DVD writable, not rewritable. To which I don't have a single way. I think
should we start over?
Play things through PlayStation.
I feel like we should start over. I feel like we should.
No. We shouldn't start over because I've got a copy of Gotcha for the NES.
Oh no.
Gotcha, the game. I don't know why. I think I just inherited it from my brother. But yeah, let's we're here to talk about music, not NES games. Not NES games that should probably be forgotten. We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album, and the provider of the album this week is David. David, what have you brought for us this week?
An album that I brought this week for the Record Breakers podcast was an album that I was just kind of roaming around for. Just for an album, I was feeling like we were about due for an R&B album on this podcast. We were due, in my opinion. So I just started looking around for something that was recent and R&B and somewhere in that space. And I came across an album that had been getting some critical buzz and some music nerd buzz from Ohio musician, now living in New York, Cautious Clay, with his most recent album, Deadpan Love. I brought this album because I just kind of felt like it was due for an R&B album. I picked it at random, so Petey, I didn't really have any expectations at all.
Yeah, let's talk about the other guy's expectations. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Not much. Not a name I had really heard. But seeing that seeing the Wikipedia, seeing he was a multi-instrumentalist, seeing the album cover of it being just him, and knowing we were getting into R&B, I was expecting some good singing, but got a bit more than that.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Well, I knew that it was R&B, and I assumed from what I read that there was hip hop influence, but I did not know R&B is a thing that can be a lot of different things, and from different eras, it's a completely different creature. So I did not know exactly what this could be. It's also very new, and a lot of things that are new are they grab from things from different times, and I was wondering how that would happen and how that would work, and I was in for a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't sure the exact thing I would expect, but I had some expectations of the good level of singing, some mixing of some genres, and I figured there would probably be at least some hip hop involved, but I wasn't sure exactly what to expect. But let's talk about what we got, the album that we got. Let's talk about it musically. David, how would you describe this album musically?
I would describe this album musically as Gen Y R&B, which means it is not strictly specifically what you would expect from R&B. There isn't as much 90s R&B or hip hop flavor as you'd expect. There's some dream pop, there's a little bit of indie pop, there's some atmospheric tones to it. Maybe not quite vapor wavy, not quite, no. But it is definitely still at its core an R&B album. It is talking about love and loss and angst and all of those things that you expect, but it is told from someone that is Gen Y, not someone that is a little bit older, which you normally expect making more quote unquote grown folks music like R&B normally is. But it all works. It comes together in a very quality package. There are musical instruments on this album here and there. It's not all just beats and samples. So if you're like a really big music snob about that kind of thing, you might get something out of this. If you don't like your music to be too, quote, urban, unquote, this might be a little bit more palatable for you. But at its core, it's still an R&B album, and it's still very digestible and recognizable as such.
Mm-hmm. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, to start, like I said, I was expecting some pretty dynamic, great singing, and I got that. Super soul tone, super great. Not only that, but there is an honesty and a power to the lyrics and the delivery that I don't think I was expecting. There's a lot of heart to it. There is a lot that he says without saying it, especially when it comes to the latter half and one of the songs in particular, definitely. It has an old school R&B sensibility, but like David said, there's a lot of new school sensibility to it as well. There is tonality and ideas from a lot of different, like, currently happening things. I think a lot of music in the pop genre is taking a nostalgic tonality, we'll say, or sample, or what have you, from you get from a more electronic genre like a vaporwave or an outrun, but like making it something different, making it something new, but taking that idea. I think it does it times here, but also the horns in this. There are, like, it's that thing it's not always there. It's not super prominent, but it's used in the right way for like the feeling. It sort of undercuts a lot of emotion. And also there was like guitar work I was just not expecting on this album. Like, when I hear R&B, I know there's going to be some good bass work. I know there's going to be some good drum work. And mixing in hip hop drums in this style of R&B, I think works really well. What I didn't expect was such good guitar work. Doing my research after the first couple of listens, seeing he worked with John Mayer in bits, shouldn't have been a surprise to me. But the first listen, I don't think I was expecting that at all. But it was very, very welcome.
Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
I mean, it is very, very R&B. By like it is 100% R&B with like the lyrics not necessarily straight from R&B. It is coming from a position that R&B is yes, it is the grown-ups music. It is serious stuff for serious people with serious amounts of reverb and every now and then a very breathy horn. But no, it has it does the synthy stuff that kind of reminds me of like the R&B from my childhood and some of the hip hop from about the time I was, becoming an adult. It's extremely mixed. There's a lot of sampled like there are samples that are used, and like this is a very dense album musically with the layering, and you can definitely see that there is some demonstration of production chops here. So there's a lot of that going on. But yeah, it's definitely it's pulling from influences in some places, but it is, at the end of the day, it is doing some of the R&B stuff, and it does have a couple of like, okay, if there were going to be songs that I would want to cut for like a nice trim radio friendly track, there is some here where there's still a little bit of the very much not radio friendly stuff. Or sorry, the adult contemporary R&B radio friendly, I should say.
Yeah.
This is all.
I would say so. We bring up the idea of radio friendly, but I think this album exists and was made without the idea of radio being a concern at all. And I think it's definitely modern R&B, and it has that very modern sensibilities. It's very has some like really cool soundscapes. It brings in the hip hop influences. It approaches things from a very modern viewpoint of the digital age. Like it's one of those like, let's look at love in the digital age kind of thing, but it does it well. It like the musicianship is really cool. I think one of the very interesting things that caught my attention immediately, and it's a thing that was brought my attention looking at a couple of other releases and looking at other music spaces, and specifically in what was brought up because of the length of the musical release by K-pop singer Somi, and her most recent release being like 2.5 minutes long, this is a album full of very stream friendly music, and with many of them being exactly around 2.5 to just under 3 minutes long, which is has been found to be a really good length to work the stream algorithm.
If you were somebody who wanted to flex your production chops,
all praise.
Yeah,
all praise.
If you were wanting to show your producer chops, being able to show that you have that awareness and the ability, because because I almost wonder, like, is the reason why pop radio songs are a certain length because they decided that, or is that just what popular songs tended to be lengthwise?
It's easier to listen to if it is.
And then,
between 3
instead of
and
being
5
MC hammered out with
it was 3 and 5 minutes
helper.
back then. It was 3 and 5 minutes back then. They figured it out. And back then we'd listen to punk music, and it was short, like 2.5 minutes. But now this shorter length is the algorithm friendly length. Which is not to say that this is a heartless record in any way. It just is just reflective of which is not to like I don't want to be a negative thing. It is just reflective.
You can go see MC Hammer be way too long.
Yeah,
like we talked about that.
Yeah.
The opposite exists.
And I don't want to say playing through to the algorithm as like this is a heartless artist just playing to a machine. It is just a modern sensibility. It just I think wanted to point to specifically that not just musically, and not just an approach. And a lot of this is very much like you can see how it is very modernly made. It is not caught up in another nostalgia. It is young.
I don't know. There's some definite things that are callbacks to.
Yeah.
To the
right,
90s.
But the length thing, I think, doesn't have to necessarily be a bad thing, because you bring up punk music in a way. And to me, like, the speed of punk music was almost a reflection on, I have a lot of different things I want to say, so I'm going to say them quickly, and I'm angry, so it's fast, right? Like, so there's this is what I want to do. If you have things you want to say now and you want to get that word out to a larger group, you have to think about, like, okay, well, a lot of people are listening to this online, and what does YouTube and TikTok do with something that is 5-6 minutes long? Are they going to play it as much? I would like more people to see this because of X, Y, Z reason. That doesn't mean it's heartless. That just means they're thinking within the medium, I think.
Yeah, and then they're playing
there
to
can be heart to it and still want that end of it, I guess.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the more opportunities to be able to start for people to start over, and restream, more restreams to when it's a particular length. Honestly, it's a tactic that I wish they would do with I wish that people that Mikey Ruckus would do when putting the AEW themes on Spotify. Keep them at around 2 minutes. just do that. Just you don't need a third verse. It's fine. It's wrestling music. You don't need a third verse. You don't really need a second verse in wrestling music. Nobody plays more longer than a minute and a half.
Sometimes you don't even need a verse.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like,
be fair.
Like, that's the whole point of wrestling music. But I just wanted to point that out, that approach, and that how much that ties into the musical aspects. But yeah, let's bring it to the key tracks. David, what would be the key tracks for you?
For me, I am going to start off with the second track on the album, Shook. You don't hear a lot of songs like this anymore. It's kind of a perfect storm. It's R&B enough to be played on the R&B stations, and it's short and sweet enough to be on a mainstream pop radio station without being too urban, in finger quotes. It also doesn't sound old like it would belong on an adult contemporary station. I think everything about this song is pretty perfectly composed and put together. I think this is one that would really stand the test of time. Track 3, Strange Love. It's more of a hip-hop song than a classic R&B pining for love song, and I think it's really good. Also, track 3, there's a percussion throughout the whole song that Clay really works his way around really well. It's a percussive song, but the vocals and the melodies really swerve around it, and it works. And the album as a whole is very quick. So there are a few songs on here that you might want to give a couple of listens, because this album will fly by before you know it.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
The guitar on High Risk Travel. That sort of smooth plugging, just really was, again, like I said, not what I was expecting, and to get it right off the bat like that was like, oh, okay, this is gonna work in a way that I'm not expecting it to work, and I need to be ready for that. And also, like, the bass groove in it was so good, I had to, like, at times realize that I was where I was in my workplace, and realize that I was out front where, like, regular customers and clientele could see me, and to stop doing, like, the neck groove, like, dance around while listening to this song. Had to stop myself, like, physically, or else risk looking weird. Karma and Friends, that heavy beat that was used, again, it was already said, but the way the vocals weaved around that sort of beat was just sort of perfect. Gonna bring up Low, because I'll always bring up an R&B baby making jam when I can. But then ending with Bump Stock. There's a power behind that. In I think more music on that could be on pop radio or R&B radio or just like normal radio should be able to say more. And I think there was some things said here, and it was from the heart, and I think that's awesome. It doesn't just need to be like Run the Jewel style rap or like hard rock that makes a statement. Like these types of more political statements should be said more on pop radio, and I think it would be cooler for it and more interesting and feel more genuine. But spoiler alert, Drew had 4 tracks, so in case you wonder how I felt about the record, the next one, spoiler alert.
Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I'm going to start with Agreeable, because when I went to what is this website? I went to genius.com to find some lyrics, and I was like, oh, hey, this is a co-written by a guy named Jesse Shatkin. So I went and looked at what old Jesse Shatkin's been up to, and I saw the likes of Beck, Fall Out Boy, and you guessed it, if you've listened to this album, you're like, yeah, that guy, this song, Linkin Park, definitely Linkin Park. These wounds they will not heal. I've heard so much good things about his solo work that I need to take it seriously by people whose opinion about the stuff
Don't get stuck in 2001.
Enough. But I don't know that I could. I'm probably too late for that even the second time looping around to it. But yeah, Agreeable. I found that interesting that this was there's some production on here by somebody who worked with the likes of Tegan and Sarah and Machine Gun Kelly. So that kind of gave me some information. Dying in the Subtlety. I felt like I had been kissed by a rose. There's some 90s British pop kind of. I don't know how to explain it. Because in the same way Seal and also Sting, not that Sting, the other Sting, kind of sounded like in the 90s, where there is this very European sounding, a very British sounding pop sound that I have no way of describing with words, and I can't make mouth noises good enough to musically say them. But also, Whoa, Whoa, the piano loop was pretty fun. It had a lot of room noise and a little poppy popness. It was like, it was like you heard Thelonious Monk's creaking piece of wood underneath it. Whoa. And Wildfire, simple guitar. It's pretty simple, but I tried to listen to what the effect was, the modulation that was on the guitar, because it almost sounded like it was the Smashing Pumpkins biphase thing, but it was that was a song that I saw. I was like, okay, this is a broad appeal type of song, and it allows a show of hanging out in the highs. Like when you're singing, you could hit that octave up. There's a ton of that going on.
You guys pretty much touched on a lot of the things and a lot of the songs that are highlights. I would say, Karma and Friends is definitely a highlight. It's a good playlist friendly track that has some good sounds. I liked the rap feature on Strange Love. It kind of reminds me of some of the cool, chill hip hop that again, it's almost predictable that this is my frame of reference. The cool, chill hip hop that some Korean R&B and hip hop artists try to emulate. That, of course, has existed before them, but that's my frame of reference. And Wildfire just has a nice, good atmosphere to it. But yeah, let's bring it back around the horn. Talk about some conclusive thoughts. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I'm proud to say people know I have, because this guy's great. He was not on my radar before. He has worked with people that definitely 100% are on my radar, but him as an artist himself was not. So hearing this, it is something where, this being his first full album, I'm excited to hear more. I'm excited to hear growth. It is something that's amazing, but when you have songwriting credits alongside like people like John Legend, Taylor Swift, Sebastian, like you've got some good people that have agreed to work with you.
One Direction, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with One Direction. It puts on some bangers.
You're obviously not doing anything wrong. It's something
Get more than one paycheck.
It's going to be regular play for me for sure.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I mean, it would be easy for me to be reductive and be like, it's one of these, but no, it's a new one of these. It is. There are new ways to make R&B, and if you have ever been into wondering how R&B was made, or enjoying R&B as more than just something that you casually listen to at the J.C. Penney while your mom's shopping in the petite section, it's not really. I am not the person you come to for the finest R&B takes, but I say it's above replacement level. It does some things that I'd never heard before, but I would caution you not to expect to get your mind melted if you are not into that kind of stuff. Fans of the genre will enjoy.
This is very modern, young R&B, and I think it does the genre a service. There's enough like that's right for the sound that works for a modern time. We kind of like we use, because we're so accustomed to being the ages that we are. Reference this radio station, that radio station, being radio friendly,
or online radio.
But like I would say,
Clear Channel owns it.
Yeah, but rather than radio, this is very playlist friendly. This can go on any number of curated playlists that you see online for modern R&B, modern chill hip hop adjacent. Like this is very playlist friendly in a really great way, and it's well constructed and well played, and it's chill. It's good background music, but you can kind of vibe with it in the foreground. And ultimately I think it's worth a listen, and it's a good example of the growth and the expansion, and how good music is nowadays. I think we'll bring back that theme. That
the floor has risen.
The floor has, like, music is good now.
There was a time where it wasn't.
Yes,
music is
called the 1999.
Yeah, there's always good music.
1999 was pretty bad.
Yeah,
it was.
But I mean, I made that statement not necessarily to say another thing was bad. I just want to make a point. Well, you did. I just want to make a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't great. 1999 was not great.
I want to dispute that from anybody that says music now. Like,
all my friends hate 1999.
Music is great now, and this is a great example of that. Yeah, David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I think this is a very easy to enjoy R&B album. I think this is an album that you would introduce to someone that thinks that they don't like this kind of music, and they will find something they enjoy. There are some influences that aren't necessarily exactly one-to-one of the rest of the genre, and that's cool, and that's fine. You want that in any music. You want an artist to draw from different places and different ideas and grow and stretch what expectations are. He doesn't go wild with the vocalizing as you might expect from this if you're coming in with expectations, which you shouldn't. And all of these things really work. The protagonist in this R&B album is imperfect, as you would expect from an album like this. And in the best way possible, it is very now. Very now. And I think that's really cool to get an idea of what someone that is living in this space right now is going through and how they are creating and putting their emotions out. And I think that's really cool. And this album was really enjoyable. It's very quick. You're going to need a couple of listens. You're going to need to spin it a couple of times just because in totality it's 33 minutes and change. It's a quick album. So give it a listen. Give it 2.
Yeah. Go ahead and check it out. Now those are our thoughts on Cautious Clay, Deadpan Love. Now we get to the main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for, where we sum it all up in poetic form. We got the haiku reviews. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haikumero numero uno. Drew, what is your haiku?
Beautiful voice. Over my great state. Powerful lyrics.
I think it ate up.
Yep, that definitely came through and totally wasn't.
Take 2, Drew. You need that again.
Pick up.
Long, full, a beautiful voice from over my great state. Powerful lyrics.
Perfect.
It tried to get you a second time, but you said
you
no.
outran it.
That's
You
right.
outran it. It was perfect. Brett, what is your haiku?
A groove and smooth vocals, modern takes on old genres, clean but not sterile.
Mm-hmm. My haiku, modern R&B in sound and delivery, intriguing showcase. Yeah, last but not least, David, what is your haiku?
My haiku. Subtle, solid, strong. It's not cliched R&B. May take a few spins.
Mm-hmm. And those are our thoughts on Cautious Clay, and his album, we'll get Deadpan Love. Go ahead and check it out on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. Follow along at home. We got two playlists. Both are available on Spotify. We got one with the episodes and one without. So you can kind of like binge play album to episode, or you could just play the albums. But yeah, on that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and that's being provided by Brett. Brett, what have you got for us next week?
Screw it. We're doing moving pictures. Moving pictures. That's my album. Moving Pictures. I was going to do Oasis, but even I couldn't do that to myself.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Spoilers. I love this album.
Yeah. So look forward to that, but that'll be next week, and this is this week, and you can of course find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Brett is at
Matter of
Hit
fact, you might as well just have squiggles on for this one, because honestly, like seriously, this album, I can't praise it enough. It's rushed. It's moving pictures. It's wonderful.
Spoiler. Spoiler
just
for
have
next
squiggles
week.
on.
I might like I might like an album with a legendary bass player. David might like a prog album. I don't know.
Yes.
Same album.
Call me
Have squiggles,
DJ. Brett is at
No,
Habibby Brett HIBBITYBIBB. Drew is at X. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelli.net for listening to the shows. Rebelli TV on Twitch and on YouTube. Be sure to follow the Twitch channels. We stream live. We're kind of working on the schedule, but as of now, until we do some changes, we're still D&D on Tuesdays, Record Breakers, our music podcast on Wednesdays, Space Trucking on Thursdays, as always, and then PD Plays Fridays, which is where I play single player games. Right now it's Mass Effect. In the future, it's probably gonna parlay into something else. Maybe some anime games. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe some random Monday streams here and there, but that's a wild card day. Yeah, follow the channel, like, share, do all the calls to action, follow us on, and subscribe to YouTube. Until next time, hasta los huevos. Annyeong. Fighting.
Actually brush your teeth.
No.
Yeah, I gotta brush my teeth. I'll go do that. And floss. Don't forget to floss.
And scrape
Tell
your
Amber to
tongue.
say floss. Gotta floss.
And scrape your tongue, even if you gag.
I'm so glad that came through. Please put that in.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.